Hey class, welcome back to How to Make $1 Million Part 2. All right, to start off with, remember last week we talked about Part 1. You got to avoid high interest debt. And today we'll talk about Step 2. You got to set aside money from each paycheck every single month and invest it somewhere where your money's going to make money for you. Today's lesson is about Outcome 4.2. Students can compare different types of investments in terms of risk, return, and liquidity, and can explain what a diverse portfolio looks like. So there's our vocabulary, sort of general vocabulary over here, and we'll learn all about these different types of investment in the course of this week. Now, quick review, how to make $1 million. You got to avoid high debt. Otherwise, the money's going to fly away from you, and that's not what you want. You want the money to fly down, rain down on you. But if you're paying a lot of debt, you're in a lot of debt, you're paying a lot of interest, you're never going to make your $1 million. So avoid that high interest debt. The moral of last week's story was if you have to borrow money, one, look for that low interest rate, and two, try to pay it off quickly so the money's not flying out of your hands. Now, back to making money is, of course, avoid paying out a lot of money. But today we'll talk about setting aside money from each paycheck to invest. Make your money work for you. So how long is it going to take you to save $1 million? Let's just say you're saving money. And the first question is, if you just took $100 a month and you stuck it under your mattress with 0% interest, how long do you think that would take? So think about that. It's 10,000 months because if you save $100 each month, you need 10,000 months. So you'll have your $1 million by the time you're 833 or 847 years old. Now that's a little bit long to wait. You're going to be dead. So there must be a better way to make your first $1 million. Now, if you save $100 a month and you put it into investment, which pays 10% return, I'm assuming a 10% return, and I'm also assuming what's called compounding interest. We'll talk about that in a second. Now you're saving $100 a month and putting it into investment that's paying you money. Your money's working for you. Now, how long do you suppose it'll take? 46 years. So now within your lifetime, add 15 years to that. So what's that, like you're 61 years old or something if you started right now? That's pretty good. But how can we make it even faster? Mr. Semple, I want to have my $1 million sooner. Well, if you save $500 a month and put that into a similar investment, is it going to be a lot faster, do you think? Take a guess. It's got to be faster than 46 years, right? It's going to be only 30 years. So now we're talking like, you're like 45 or something. You got your $1 million. Well, let's take a look at this question then. You save $500 a month for 30 years, like in that last example. How much money did you actually put into that investment? And if you do that math, you put in $180,000, but you made $1 million. How much did you make in interest? Look at that number right there. Boom. Free money, $800,000. You want a bunch of free money? Pay attention to these different types of investment this week. Now, I know what you're asking. You're like, hey, Semple, you're crazy, man. 10% return on your investment, is that even possible? Well, it is. It's possible. There's places where you can invest money and make a good return like that. And that's what we're going to talk about this week. Now, this chart is kind of gives you some hope here. There's a timeline along the bottom from 1926 all the way up to 2011. And it shows how much your compound annual return. How much could you make if you invested this in stocks? Now, on average, small stocks over this almost 100-year time period in America, investing in small companies yields about a 12% return. And large companies, about 10% return. These are numbers that, not every single stock is going to go up. Some of them will go down. We'll talk more about stocks later. But this should give you encouragement that a 10% return is possible. Now, the other part was, what about compounding interest? Compounding interest It means that you're earning interest on your interest. And that can happen with certain types of investments. For example, savings accounts do that. We'll talk about CDs, and there's other kinds of investments that we won't talk about. But this idea of compounding interest is an important one. Now, this chart, I like it a little bit better because it's assuming a 6% return rate, a little bit more conservative estimate. And it's saying, like, if you want to have $1 million when you retire at age 65, how much are you going to have to save each month? Now, if you don't start saving money until you're 60 years old, you're going to have to save almost, over $14,000 a month to have $1 million. That's like impossible. But if you start earlier, if you start all the way back here when you're age 20 and you start saving just $361 a month, you're going to have that $1 million by the time you retire. So part of the moral of this story is definitely start saving when you're young. All right, so avoid debt and set money aside from each paycheck to invest. Make your money, make money for you, make your money work for you, and get a bunch of free money. But where can I invest my money? You're asking, shrugging your shoulders there. What can I invest in to make money for me? Well, this week we're going to talk about 7 different types of investments: savings accounts, CDs, bonds, stocks, mutual funds, retirement accounts, and real estate. And there's no one answer to this. If it was easy to do this, everybody would do it, right? But pay attention this week to all these different types of these different types of investments. Learn how to set up a diverse portfolio with different amounts of risk, different amounts of return, and different amounts of liquidity, and put those rules into practice, and your financial future will be much brighter, and you'll thank me someday. All right, good. That's it for this lesson. Stay tuned for these different types of investments, and we'll see you soon.